Guys are a fan of the game stream, like I said, you see this match over and over again. But then it's just for fun, for letter points, for practice. Now it's for all the marbles. In the top left side of Lightshade, we're looking at the main base of the man of the hour, hailing from Cologne, Germany, still representing Mouse Sports. It is HeRoMaRinE.
And his opponent in the southeast, we have the red Protoss player from Team Exxon Esports. He is Gerald.
Gerald's room
Everybody
is
has
so
that point
big
in their life where they have to accept that they'll just never be able to pronounce it properly. You say his room is huge?
Yeah, like his room is big enough to actually get Gabe set up over there too. They could have played this on LAN, like a little Gabe setup in the corner somewhere. You know?
There's just enough room for him to lie down and play Mario Kart on the TV. He'd take up the entire attic space, it looks like, but I think he could get it. I don't think he could stand up all the way, but otherwise, no, I totally agree with you.
This is quite a funny opening here in Gerald in the very first game of our day. So he's basically building a proxy pylon, proxy gateway, but it's not that close to the main base of Gabe. But at the same time, he's also opening up with double gas. He's clearly relying or expecting an early scout from Gabe that's not actually coming. Gabe's going to scout with the Reaper. Not quite sure what to make of it, but we'll keep a close eye on the probe, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of aggressive strategies that I think people are wary of in this matchup, right? With like the proxy void rays and stuff like that, and you're always trying to have like that kind of a threat for the other player. But I kind of agree with you there. The Reaper, if it goes straight across the map, I don't see why you wouldn't check the natural with it. If it just goes into the main and sees there's no gateway, the Terran player, like you might start to panic, like, oh, did I miss it? Is it outside? Is this one of those, oh, there's two gateways proxied outside my base, or it's the gateway and the Stargates next to it? So I kind of get some of the idea, but you're totally right. It would be a lot more effective if there had been like an early SCV scout. If HeRoMaRinE was trying to get that information, that's when going for the trickery works. But this is such a late scout. I'd be pretty surprised if he comes over, but maybe the Adept pushes him away, but then that just tells him that there's a normal gateway in his base anyway, right?
Yep. Now we even see the Nexus go up, and Gabe's probably a little bit thrown off by the timing of that Nexus. He's like, bit later than I expected it to be, but this Reaper is already in the main. It's going to get a perfect scout off, and we'll identify that Gerald went for a super early Twilight Council of double gas before expanding. It's not the most economic opening, Nate, but maybe this Adept can even things up and we can just take the game from there.
Yeah, a good bit of pressure, honestly. Just the fact that he was able to get the bunker up right next to this command center, but still not be able to actually finish it is exactly why this kind of opening can be a little bit frustrating to deal with. Gets the first SCV pick, going for the second. The command center does finish. He gets the SCV. And that's a nice little break there for HeRoMaRinE, because you don't want to have to take that time to move another worker all the way down, take it off of mining, and it doesn't instantly teleport to that command center to finish it up. And you need that for the supply as well.
Absolutely, that's fortunate for Gabe, because now at least he can start morphing that into an orbital immediately. On the other hand, I think Gerald is somewhat satisfied with the fact that he did stall it a little bit, and on top of that got 3 probes. That's quite reasonable. Now the Reaper and the Hellion are going to make themselves comfortable in the natural of Gerald. He only has a single Stalker. A single Stalker doesn't have that much DPS. And this is really turning into just kind of a disastrous start for Gerald, as the other Stalker was way out of position. And all the good he did on Gabe's side of the map, well, it's vanished because he loses 3 probes himself.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to consider, right? Because with the way that things shake up, you delay the orbital command, right? The Terran can't build workers while they're doing that. You want to chrono boost probes usually a little bit, get the economy going. We see Gerald doing that, but anytime that the Protoss is losing workers, that early Reaper, that first Reaper Hellion, sometimes it's 2 Hellions, it's an absolutely terrifying thing to see, because you're hoping to get that economy set up before the Terran, so you can move into your gateway production and try to stall out that third base, which is something we see happen a lot. The Stalkers are going to the main, though, right as this medevac hits the natural, Kev. There's 12 probes and 2 Widow Mines. Let's see what the reaction time is. Looks pretty quick to the draw to run away.
It is good, but we're gonna have to wait until Blink is done before we can even get on top of this. Matter of fact, Blink does finish up, but he doesn't actually want to go for it. Gabe with the on-barrel picks up the second mine too, so he didn't want to settle there for a single probe or potentially fire at his Stalker that will then just blink away. But even though this may look good for Gerald, it really isn't good, guys, because he's down 2 workers. He's been losing mining time, and what is very standard in this matchup is that the Protoss should be, let's say, 5 to 6 workers ahead, and that makes up for the fact that, you know, Protoss doesn't have orbital commands, Terran does. The fact that HeRoMaRinE has 2-3 workers more now than his opponent just kind of goes to show that Gerald really needs to start finding some damage, otherwise this game will not have a happy ending for him.
No, you couldn't be any more right about that. Like, the Protoss is supposed to be ahead a few workers because the Terran has mules, but now the Terran is not only ahead in SCVs, they have those mules as well. So the one nice thing, he's kind of kept at least some of those units home with the medevac, but there's a lot of Stalkers you're trying to come across. Not going to try and blink up that ramp. I think that could be a bit disastrous because the Raven can always shut down the Prism if necessary.
Yep, and another turret has a lot of DPS, so instead Gerald is going to try to find some damage in the natural. And we get 2 SCVs, which is a little something, but it's definitely not enough. Gerald is still 4 workers behind, and whatever the plan was in this game, it just didn't really work out. I honestly believe that he expected an SCV scout from HeRoMaRinE early on. Gabe would then see double gas, no gateway in the main, and be like, oh no, I need to drop a command center on the high ground. I need to be very defensive because I'm worried about Void Rays or a proxy gate. And then Gerald would just power up his economy behind that. Since that didn't take place, it just kind of felt that everything Gerald tried to do fell flat on its face. And I'm going to be real, I absolutely hate the position he's currently in. He's down 24 army supply and he's being outmined.
Yeah, and I think, please tell me if you disagree, but I feel like when you want to go for this heavy gateway style composition where you're going for the Stalkers into the charge, if you're not doing that early attack, you kind of want to have that third up faster, right? Because trying to go for a 2-base economy of just gateways once stimmed bio is out on the field, well, we know Marines and Marauders are going to have a field day against Stalkers and Zealots unless you have a lot of Stalkers and Zealots.
Or a massive upgrade lead, which he also doesn't have. He's actually going to be behind an upgrade because +1 is already done for Gabe. I think you're spot on there, Nate. I think Gerald's comeback mechanic in this game is going to be Quick Storm. And we have definitely seen a couple of miraculous games over the last few years where a Protoss player was down in army supply, was even down in upgrades and economically, but put a couple of High Templars in a War Prism, landed some big storms. But I don't think Gabe is going to let it get there, man. Gabe is very decisive, in a way sometimes even boring, but it's just he knows how to win games. He knows when his army is better than his opponent's army, he will move to the other side of the map, and a lot of pros will say, I got A-moved by Gabe, and that's sometimes what it feels, because there's just not much that Gerald can do here.
Yeah, drops the auto turrets a little bit ahead because as we do have those Templar, they're waiting for the energy, they're waiting for Psystorm, of course, but they could have tried to get a feedback on it. Yeah. So the Raven energy gets burned early. Is he just showing a little too much respect here? Because he just doesn't know that Storm isn't ready, right? Yeah,
I think that HeRoMaRinE is probably like, there's no way that this game is that simple, right? Like, I am Gabe. I am used to running to the other side of the map and just winning games, but I'm sure that at least he has Storm. Maybe I should respect that. But you're right there, Nate. I actually think he could have stuck around. His army was so much better. It was bigger and it was more powerful.
I mean, that's kind of the threat of Storm, right? I guess, is that even before it's ready, you know that if he does have it and you go for it, you're probably gonna throw the game, right? So he really doesn't want to do that. So I don't mind him taking his third at this time, and I'm only gonna say that because usually you're trying to take your third after the Protoss has their third and they're trying to come attack you. But I don't know that Gerald's gonna have the easiest attack path towards him. He has a good amount of units built up, and maybe he will go across the map here, but I think HeRoMaRinE, if he's able to get a couple of these ghosts out that he's building right now, and he defends and gets that third base set up, he still has a huge army as well.
Yeah, but it has a lot of units at home too at this point, so it'd be silly to now fight, because Storm is obviously done and we've got 5 High Templars. HeRoMaRinE should probably just group up, get all of his forces together, and then I still believe that his army should be big and powerful enough to win the fight here. The Prism is a bit scary. Good feedback there by Gerald on the Raven, which is going to prevent the interference matrix from taking place, but Gerald needs a little more. 2 High Templars go down immediately, and the rest of this Protoss army, Nate, it's just a bit underwhelming. It's only Storm that's good here.
Yeah, I was going to say, and the Storm didn't even look super terrible. That next one's super juicy, but as you said, Kev, that's really all he has. And he does still have at least, it looked like 1 or 2 more when he unloaded those High Templar, but as soon as those storms are gone, and now there are ghosts on the field. So those first 3 that he built are done. Enhanced shockwaves is going to be ready soon. So keeping those Templars safe, keeping them inside the prism is going to be incredibly important. We'll keep our eyes on that, because one good EMP by HeRoMaRinE could completely just end the game, right? If he gets it right on the middle of those High Templar.
You know, if our lovely observer Njal could take a look at the income advantage real quick before these armies get close to each other, you can see that Gabe has been mining so much more than Gerald over the last few minutes. That's ridiculous. This is not how a game is supposed to look, where we didn't have a HeRoMaRinE kill 20 probes. While we talk about that, Gabe is unloading a double drop in the back of the natural, takes out the battery. Storms are nice enough, but he also needs the storms to deal with the main army. And I feel like this game is just kind of over before it ever truly began. HeRoMaRinE has more than Gerald, and he's got better units than Gerald.
Yeah, gets another solid EMP center mass on that army. Zealot run by going back over towards the 3rd, except Gerald's 3rd is dead. These Archons left to morph right in front of plenty of Marines and Marauders to clean them up. And GG is called. HeRoMaRinE takes game number 1. Pretty straightforward, Kev. Gerald looked like he was trying to do something a little bit cheeky, a little bit cute with the gateway positioning at the very start. He got the early adept kill, but then the Reaper and the Hellion took a few of his probes. The Widowmine dropped in. It didn't kill a tremendous amount, but everything just felt like he got going so much slower than HeRoMaRinE did in terms of the build order progression in that game.
Sometimes we're too good, or we're too smart for our own good. And it felt that Gerald had this master plan of how Gabe was going to scout him, and how Gabe was then going to be terrified about the weird things that Protoss could do, and it was going to show a lot of respect. But HeRoMaRinE didn't SCV scout. He only scouted with the Reaper, and by the time that the Reaper made it to the other side of the map, Gabe was like, oh, I guess you went double gas and a Twilight before expanding. Well, that means that you don't have a great economy. At least the Adept got a couple SCV kills, but then we lost the probes at home. And at that point, Gerald's economy was just so much worse than the Protoss economy is supposed to be 3.5, 4 minutes in. And it kind of felt that his entire strategy was dead on arrival, and he could never really go anywhere.
Yeah, never was able to get it off the ground. Couldn't get that rocket ship into the sky. But going into the second map, as we're getting the lobby ready for this one, that is going to be on Blackburn. So that's your... I don't know, this we always make like the comparisons for different types of maps that these bottom left versus bottom right, or top left versus top right maps go with like a habitation station and all that jazz, with like the close air distance, and then all sorts of stuff in the middle of the map. So I'm interested to see how this one goes. I think the last like 2 TVPs I saw here were some of those GSL games with the proxy void rays. So I have no idea what Gerald's going to bring out, but we are loaded in, and it is time to find out, as we have our first player in the bottom right in red from Exxon Esports. He is Gerald.
And that, of course, means that in the bottom left side of Blackburn, we're looking at the main base of our German Terran. He's off to an excellent start in the DreamHack SC2 Masters Summer. Beat Stefano on play day 1. Has now taken a 1-0 lead on the second play day. It is HeRoMaRinE.
Now, of course, from the Terran perspective on this map, you're always going to be thinking about that direct air path. The slow zones are something that are annoying, but it's a bit situational with the types of units you're using, I think. And also you have to kind of keep in mind what your opponent's using to defend, whether it's going to be like that Stargate opening. You're not going to have the easy way to retreat out, right? If you're trying to boost a medevac with mines through the slow zone, it's going to be a lot harder to get through. So we'll see how aggressive he wants to be on that side. But this map also feels really big, Kev. I don't know about you, but this has kind of been one of those like ninja base maps for me.
Yeah,
I've loved seeing it, because nobody ever checks the top side of this map.
We actually saw Bly go for a ninja base yesterday against Clem, and Clem didn't scout it for quite some time. He checked the gold bases, but Bly just took it in the top right side. Unfortunately, he then tried to use it for basically like quicker reinforcements, quicker roaches, and Clem just kept all his units on his side of the map and had a relatively easy victory in the end. But I'm with you. This is definitely one of these maps where you can just do weird stuff, and I always like weird stuff. And you can build main bases on the wrong side of the gold minerals too, where you can't mine the gas, but you can still mine all the minerals. That kind of stuff is pretty cool to watch as well.
Yeah, and that's I think I agree with you, and I think anybody would know, right? Like with us, we like weird builds, fluid strategies. Variety is the spice of life, and this map definitely opens up a couple of new options in a weird sort of way. You have
Wait,
that with, like,
what?
gold base very close. He's gonna go right here.
But he's also expanding. HeRoMaRinE has been scouting with his Reaper, but he's only checking on the top side of his natural. He hasn't checked on the right side of his main yet. Is this Reaper gonna find the pylon and the probe? The answer is no. Gabe does not see it.
Oh my god.
What? Okay, we're gonna
He's
go
just
for
gonna
a
proxy Stargate him right there.
Yeah, but after one gate fast expand, that's the most bizarre thing.
I mean, he doesn't have units, right? But is he if HeRoMaRinE doesn't see it, he'll have, by the time the Stargate finishes, he could have what, like 4 Marines in the bunker, unless he swaps the factory, and then a starport on the way, maybe, by the time something comes out?
That Reaper is super dead, Nate. It is super dead. This Adept in the main base is going to take care of it. HeRoMaRinE is scouting around, and he doesn't see anything, but this will not necessarily make the alarm bells go off, because you could be like, he could have dropped the tech in his natural. There is a Stargate incredibly close to the main base of a German Terran, and he's not aware of it.
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't even know how to think about this one. So how far in do you move the Void Ray then? How much do you try to risk it? The starport's not done, so you're not worried about Vikings. There's no cyclones. Is he just going to go for the reactor and the depot, like just try to push that ramp, or?
It's basically just a proxy Void Ray, but then of 2 bases. Gabe is going to make 1 Viking, but this is going to be so weird. I don't think HeRoMaRinE is necessarily expecting this or thinking about it. Widow Mines can be nice, but can also be very silly. The Void Ray is going to reveal itself, and can we kill the mine before it burrows? The answer is no. But the doors are open. Maybe the 3 Adepts can make some magic happen. Oh, careful, Gerald. That mine almost fired.
Yes, he hasn't really been able to do a whole lot with this yet. At this point, you're going to have to... something's going to have to eat that mine shot, and then the second one comes up, so you start to worry about the detection. Now the Viking is here, and yes, there's a shield battery. But, oh, well, even after all of that, the Widow Mine still hits the Void Ray. It's a bit unfortunate. The second mine hits the Void Ray.
Yeah, that's still bad. Even if the Void Ray is alive, it obviously lost a lot of its real HP, and that HP will never come back. I mean, sure, that battery is going to heal up the shields, but not in love with the damage that Gerald has dealt so far. It's 2 SCVs and it's a Widow Mine, but the investment of a Stargate, a pylon, a battery is quite big, and it obviously delays the tech you have at home. We see a Twilight Council now going down. This is all super odd, Nate, because normally when we do this, we go all out, right? We're fully committed, and we try to win the game with nothing but batteries, Void Rays, maybe Tempest as a follow-up. Now it was kind of just used as a harassment tool, but it seems like a pretty big investment to just harass with a little bit.
Yeah, and especially moving the Void Ray forward at all. If the Vikings are able to get the jump on him, that shield battery got completely drained by the Widow Mines detonating on the Void Rays. So he lost the sustainability to just try and stay there and be annoying too. And it slows down Gabe's build a little bit, but just think about how much it slowed down everything that Gerald wanted to do. He's only just started Blink now. Wasn't really in a position to get anything set up because, as you said, he invested. Void Rays, yeah, guys, they made him a little bit cheaper, but you still have to build the Stargate, building the pylons, and 2 Void Rays there is not, you're not getting your tech path done at the same normal time when you're trying to make moves like this.
Nope, I'm definitely very worried here for Gerald. Like, Blink is 30% done, but by the time that he's gonna have Blink, as this Void Ray is gonna go down in the bottom side against the 2 Vikings that HeRoMaRinE has sent to the other side of the map, we're gonna have to buy an insane amount of time with Blink Stalkers. If we are on Team Gerald, the Stalkers need to be out on the map. They need to start chipping away at the Marine count and just prevent any push from happening. Because HeRoMaRiNE's army is about to become pretty powerful. +1, Stim, Marauders, Marines, 1 or 2 medevacs. And what do we have on the Proto side of the map? Basically nothing other than units that can buy time and maybe stasis traps.
Yeah, I'll say, well, stasis traps can always be the fun option for this situation if you get 1 or 2 on the way and you can just stall it out. That's always one of those things that's terrifying, but it's not really reliable, right? Terran players, if there's one thing our eyes are trained for, it's those shimmering objects from being DT rushed for 10 years, but then also the stasis traps. I think back to a legendary final or 2 where we've had some gnarly stasis traps throughout the years. Be game changers, but counting on it here, I think, might be asking a little much of them.
It's kind of just a disastrous series for Gerald. There is the first stasis, and it will trap a couple of units, but the remaining bits of HeRoMaRiNE's army is still quite a bit more powerful as Gerald loses a Stalker too. He did fire up Storm, but Storm is nowhere near done. The Vikings are going to go into the main base. At least Gerald is going to be able to take care of these. But will he be able to keep the main army of Gabe at bay? I've got my doubts. There's 2 medevacs full of bio units are going to head into the Protoss main base. HeRoMaRines are going to burrow on top of the ramp. And Nate, I really don't know how Gerald is going to hold here.
And HeRoMaRine takes out the Oracle. Stalkers try to blink away from the other one on top of the ramp. But as you say that, Kev, the next 2 medevacs are coming in to reinforce. We've got a huge army inside of Gerald's base. The Sentry gets focus fire down. No more Guardian Shield. There's a decent amount of Zealots, but no charge, Roddy. The Zealots have no charge. The Templar doesn't have Storm either. It's just Marines and Marauders fighting against Stalkers. And I think Big Gabe will take that fight any day of the week. The Blink Micro is cute, but these units cost so much more than what HeRoMaRinE is throwing at him to do this damage. He's bought a bit more time with those stasis traps. I love the cannons and the shield battery. He's basically said, you're only going to have one way to attack me, and it's inside my base. But then he went inside his base, and he's done tremendous damage because that Void Ray got picked off earlier, and he just hasn't had the money from all of the things that he's been trying to do at once. You know, he's done a little bit of everything, but he hasn't been able to focus on anything.
I mean, it was actually kind of impressive that Gerald didn't just die yet. Now, HeRoMaRinE is going to go into the main base one more time, and unfortunately, these Stalkers do not scare him, because I felt that if Gerald had another minute or so, then I would start believing, because he's 17 workers ahead. But HeRoMaRinE is not going to give him the time like he did on Lightshade. This time, Gabe gets right on in there. We do have a recall being used, but I really wonder what we are recalling. High Templars that are super exposed. Well, they're forced to morph into Archons, and that's going to be LC Road for the first best of 3 of the day, Nathanius.
Not really a whole lot you can do to stop this. That morphing Archon gets popped. The HeRoMaRines have cut off the ramp. And now the main base Nexus, the rest of the pylons are all forfeit. GG is called, and